Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse, DC Direct, Page Puncher, Rebirth, Deathstroke. Not only that, but this is the Platinum Chase variant. This one has a little bit of a different outfit, and the Unmasked head is also different. I want to give a huge shout out to my boy Johnny from Denver for finding this and hooking me up. It is much appreciated. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see, it's in the clear clamshell package. At the top, DC, McFarlane Toys, includes a comic book in the English language, DC Direct, Deathstroke, McFarlane Platinum Edition. Here is the package. We have a bunch of weapons, a couple heads, display stand, collector's card, and a comic. Blank on both sides. At the bottom, there's the barcode if that helps, but it's going to be the same barcode as the regular version. And in the back, here's the cover of Deathstroke Rebirth #1. So with no further ado, let's open them up. And I did get two of these figures, one of which to open and enjoy, the other one to keep unopened in my complete Batman-related unopened action figure collection. Alright, now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He comes with quite a bit of cool stuff. We have a display stand, a collector's card, a reprint of Deathstroke Rebirth #1. He's got his signature staff, sword, and then a Shangao. Before I tailor all that, let's talk about and check out the figure. So this is Deathstroke from the Rebirth comics. This is the third paint job of just a standard looking Deathstroke from Rebirth comics, and I think it's the fifth figure on this body, but we'll check that out later in the video. This, I think, is my favorite of the three Rebirth Deathstrokes. Good amount of accessories. He has the unmasked head, which looks much better than the regular version. This is the Platinum Chase version, and the differences I see is he has a black eye patch on the unmasked head, the blue is a lot lighter on him, and he has orange lines going through the blue. It looks pretty nice. I'd say it's the most appealing of these versions of Deathstroke. Deathstroke's real name is Slade Wilson. He was sort of a military experiment, and it's kind of like Captain America. He is really strong, great agility, healing factor, etc. But he didn't stay with the military. He became a mercenary, and he has his own sort of sense of honor, code of honor, but he does kill for money. Let's take a look at this figure. Starting with this face here, it looks really good. Nice job on that head sculpt. Worth the extra $5 on the page puncher price. Black eye patch. Slade Wilson indeed. He's got the gray hair, little beard, goatee. As we go further down, it's on the Rebirth costume. It has that weird white sleeve here. You can see the texturing kind of scaly on the orange. Not there in the middle. They've totally outlined some of the sculpted designs on the figure, and we'll check that out when we compare them with the other versions. Double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. Hands maybe a little bit too big. As a whole looks good. There is different texturing on different parts. Even on the blue suit, you can see this part's textured, this part's blank. Just kind of interesting. One thing they did forget on these versions of Deathstroke is the knife that goes into the sheath. It leaves you with an empty slot here. And I don't think that's even a money-saving thing. I think it's just sort of an incompetence thing on McFarlane's part. Just error number 1246 by McFarlane. Still love the figures, but they make a lot of really stupid, obvious mistakes like that. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt. I think they did a nice job on it, and I prefer the black eye patch to the other one, but we'll check them both out in a little bit. Old man Slade Wilson. Still one of the toughest old men you've ever seen. And then here's the figure, broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out the accessories, starting off with the boring stuff. Here's his display stand, typical McFarlane display stand we've seen countless times before. Very thin, very basic. Here's his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of Deathstroke, combat, blood everywhere. Deathstroke. On the back side there is a description. If you want to read that, pause now. Here's the previous version of the Rebirth Deathstroke's collector's card on the left, next to the page puncher version in the middle, and the Frostbite edition on the right. Now let's look at this comic. This is a reprint of Deathstroke Rebirth #1. Not to be confused with Deathstroke #1 from the Rebirth comics. I know that's weird, but when the Rebirth hit, they started a series called Deathstroke, and to start with #1. They also made a one-shot called Deathstroke Rebirth #1, and that is what this is a reprint of. You can see at the top it has the new DC logo, Deathstroke Rebirth #1. We have Deathstroke in this exact same costume on the front, wielding a sword. On the back, it says DC. In the middle, it's a straight reprint from that comic. You see Deathstroke. So I have the original version of the Deathstroke Rebirth #1. That is this. You can see the DC logo is the same because that's the modern DC logo. Rebirth wasn't that long ago. This is the McFarlane reprint. The difference is this one has a barcode, this one does not, and the orange is a little bit different at the top. This is the variant cover of Deathstroke Rebirth #1, and notice the orange matches this one, just mildly interesting. There's also no price below the #1, whereas these guys have that. And just to make things clearer, or possibly more complicated, here is the version of Deathstroke #1 from the Rebirth comics, the main cover and the cover variant. Like I said, this reprint is not based off Deathstroke #1, but Deathstroke Rebirth #1, which is a one-shot. Now to look at his heads, he has two of them, one with the Deathstroke mask on, and one unmasked Slade Wilson. Here he is with his first head. This one has the mask on, and it looks really cool, those sculpted lines on top with the orange painted on it. Here's a closer look at the regular Page Puncher Deathstroke's head. You can see the same sculpted lines without the actual colored lines going through them. And here's the platinum version of Deathstroke with the unmasked Slade Wilson head with the black eye patch. And here's the previous version. This one has sort of a gray eye patch, a little bit different. I prefer the platinum version to this guy. So whenever McFarlane makes an unmasked character, a lot of time I buy an extra one so I can make the same character in civilian attire, Slade Wilson. I did that with the regular version of the Page Puncher Deathstroke. I took this wrestling WWE Elite Triple H in a business suit, because he's a big, bulky guy, kind of like Slade Wilson, and I popped on the original head. But, pretty sure this new head is going to dethrone that one as my main Slade Wilson. And yes, pretty sure I like this one a lot better. This is going to be my Slade Wilson in civilian attire in my Deathstroke collection. So which unmasked Slade Wilson head do you guys like best? This is the regular Page Puncher one, this is a Platinum Page Puncher one, and this is a Mezco one. Which one do you guys think looks the best? For now, this new Platinum one is going to be my default Deathstroke out of costume. And here are his other weapons. These are all melee weapons. We have a large staff, nice texturing where he grips it. That is one of Deathstroke's signature weapons, is a staff. Then again, so is a sword. This one has a decent blade and good sculpt and detail on the handle. And then we have a Shangao. It's sort of a blade with a hook for the top, and the handle is also a blade as well. Here's Deathstroke holding that staff. He can hold it with either one hand or with two. Here's Deathstroke holding his sword. His sword can holster in that little clip on his back. This is not even the original sword intended to fit into this clip, but it works. That little sort of gap there on the blade fits pretty nice. And finally, here he is holding the Shangao. Now I wanted to check out the differences, reuse, and similarities between all three regular versions of the DC Rebirth Deathstroke. This is the original release from a year or two ago. This is the Platinum Page Puncher, and this is the regular Page Puncher. So as far as the two Page Punchers, it's the same outfit, but all that different sculpted stuff underneath there is sort of outlined. And I think it looks really cool. I don't know if this is accurate to anything in the comics, but I do like the blue, the orange, the lines. It's all visually very pleasing. So it's a lighter blue, orange lines all over him. I guess the orange is a little bit lighter as well. The white seems to be the same. Which one do you guys like better between these two? The regular or the platinum? Most people seem to be siding with the platinum from what I've seen. And then if you want to check out the differences between the regular version, and once again, it's the same sculpt. He has those sculpted lines on his head that are not painted in. The sculpted design on his chest, which is outlined in the new one. The same scale in the orange. The orange is darker on him, kind of like the other one. This guy is a black color instead of the dark blue or the lighter blue, and I think this guy is the most accurate to the Rebirth comics, at least the beginning of them. Another big difference. The original one came with the knife. McFarlane, come on. So there are now 5 different Deathstroke figures that utilize this Rebirth-based body. These 4 are identical. This guy shares a lot of the base parts, but has some differences as well. This is the regular version, the 2 page punchers, the GameStop Frostbite version, and the Defiance version. And guess what? 3 out of the 5 come with their knives, except for the 2 most recent. And like I said before, I know that's not a cost-saving thing, that's just an incompetence thing on McFarlane's part. Such an obvious mistake, but they make so many of them. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at the figure and his accessories, let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing around 7.1, maybe 7.2 inches tall, which can translate to just over 18 centimeters. And for his articulation, starting with his head, of course, you can rotate side to side. He can look up about that far, down a very good amount. Can tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders on a ball joint goes up more than 90 degrees, up, down, around. He does have that butterfly ring between his shoulder and chest, increase the range of motion and cover the gap that would be there. Bicep cut. Double jointed elbows. His wrists can rotate and it's hinged as well. Ball joint his torso. Rotate around, forward and back. Another one in his waist. Rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, pretty good range of motion. I'd say you get a little bit more of the torso than the waist on this guy. Legs, complete of splits, McFarlane style hip joints. Rotation, decent on him. Legs go forward, about that much. Back not at all. Double jointed knees. And then his ankle. Forward and back. Rotate. Tilt, rock. And toe articulation. Here's Deathstroke on a Gotham City roof. He's sniping his target. Say what you want about Deathstroke. He's just a mercenary. That'll kill for the highest bidder. Meanwhile, out of Gotham City, back at his dojo, Deathstroke continues to train, perfect his body for the next kill. You can see the duffel bag full of money next to him. That was his reward for his Gotham City kill. Batman drops in, tells Slade, "You shouldn't have come to my city. I told you last time, never again." Deathstroke pulls out his sword and gun. Batman and Deathstroke get ready for the fight of their lives. Batman has Damian Wayne Robin take the duffel bag full of money. No matter who wins the fight between Batman and Deathstroke, Deathstroke is going to lose. Here's a look at both versions of the Rebirth Deathstroke. The original version, this new page puncher version, and my Slade Wilson in their dojo training. And then here are all 3 regular versions of the Rebirth Deathstroke, and my Slade Wilson in the dojo training. Now let's check them out. Next is some of their action figures, starting off with some of their Deathstroke figures. Here's the platinum version of the page puncher Deathstroke, next to the regular release. And here he is, next to the original version of the Rebirth Deathstroke. I'd say this one is the most accurate, but also the most boring. Then, next to the Defiance version. This is also him from the Rebirth comics, but he was on a very specific team with a very specific uniform for a short period of time. It does utilize a lot of the same body as the Rebirth version. And now, with the Arkham Origins Deathstroke, which is still my favorite one that McFarlane has put out. Here are all the different McFarlane DC Multiverse Deathstroke figures they've made so far. They've done 7 of them, 5 of which are from the Rebirth, 2 from Arkham Origins. They've really covered all the different Deathstroke looks that we need, but I would love to get a classic 80s Deathstroke the Terminator figure. McFarlane did also release these versions of Deathstroke. On the left, we have the DC Direct, DC Essentials, Deceased Deathstroke, and on the right, we have McFarlane's Superpowers Deathstroke. And here he is, with all my DC Direct Deathstroke figures. Then, next to the Mixmax Deathstroke. And now, with a couple of Mezco Deathstroke figures. Here he is, next to several different Mattel Deathstroke figures. And here, with the amazing Yamaguchi Deathstroke. Then, next to my Slade Wilson in civilian attire. And here he is, next to a DC Direct Ravager. That's his daughter. Here are all the Deathstroke figures that I have in my collection. I believe I have all of them in the 6 and 7 inch scale. The next Deathstroke I'm going to get that I can think of to come out is a third-party Deathstroke. It's from the Nightmare scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Pretty excited for that one. And since this Cyborg Superman is a Platinum Chase variant, I wanted to take a look at all the different McFarlane DC Multiverse Platinum Chase variants out there. Here are all the sort of older Platinum Chase variants. Gold, bronze, unpainted, and then some newer versions. And here are the more modern McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. I'm starting to get almost a complete collection. The ones I'm still looking for are going to be the Collector's Edition Red Hood. I need one of those. 1 Collector's Edition Ragman, 2 Collector's Edition Clock King figures, and 1 Collector's Edition Jonah Hex. If anybody has the lead on where I could get one for a reasonable price, or can possibly help me out, please drop me a line in the comments below. It is much appreciated. Now let's check him out. Next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the rest of his wave. This is the most recent Page Puncher wave. Both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of Deathstroke and Damian Wayne Robin. Here's Deathstroke, next to the most recent Jokerized figures. Last Night on Earth Batman, Hush, and Harley Quinn. And here he is, next to the most recent Platinum wave, Effigy, The Question, and Shining Knight. Then, next to the Rebirth Cyborg and the Dawn of the DC Red Hood. And now, with the McFarlane Toy Store exclusive Jonah Hex. Here's Deathstroke, next to the Michael Go Alfred that came with the Batman Forever Batmobile, and the GameStop exclusive Frostbite Deathstroke. And here he is, next to the 7th wave of McFarlane Collector's Edition figures. We have the Battle Damage Dark Knight Returns Batman, the New 52 Huntress, and a couple of Green Lantern Corps members, Abin Sur and Tomar Ray. Then, next to the Batman Forever wave, Collective Build a Nightmare Bat. And now, with the previous Platinum wave, Hugo Strange's Batman, Bullseye Batman, Ben Affleck Batman from The Flash, and Batman Begins Lucius Fox. And finally, next to the most recent Batman wave, both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of the Batman Reborn Dick Grayson Batman, the Adam West Batman, and the world's finest Fusion Batman Superman. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you don't know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane toy, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my way smaller. But first, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale, and now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures, and some Diamond Select toys. Here's Deathstroke, next to a really small bottle of Tabasco sauce. And here he is, with some DC Direct and NECA figures. Then, with both some Mattel and Jazzwares wrestling figures. And now, with some Mezco and Mattel DC figures. Next, with some Mafex and Hasbro Marvel Legends. And finally, with some SH Figure Arts and Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, this is a very nice Deathstroke figure. When I first saw they're doing a Platinum with lines all over him, I was like, don't really need that. But in hand, he looks fantastic. This is my favorite of all the McFarlane Rebirth Deathstrokes, and there are 5 of them to choose from. And the Unmasked head is better than the regular version, which is kind of interesting. His accessories are also very nice. He has 3 weapons, but he's missing that knife, which is really, really annoying. If I were to rate this figure, I'd probably give the original single release of the Rebirth a 7. Then the Page Puncher a 7.5. And this guy an 8. Even though I think the regular one is the most accurate, he's kind of like the most boring looking of all of them. Really enjoying this figure. Really happy to check off another Platinum off the list. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say to the video, add it in the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you real soon.